Good evening. On this fine summer's evening, you're very welcome to Dermot and Philip's political podcast. It's just Philip this week. Dermot will be back next week. And once again, we're delighted to have as our guest Irish Times journalist Ronan McGreevy. Ronan is also an author of numerous best-selling books, including Sean Lemass, The Lost Memoir, The Kidnapping, about the Don Tidy kidnapping, Wherever the Firing Line Extends, a particularly brilliant book about the Irish soldiers fighting in Flanders in the First World War, and The Great Hatred, the assassination of Sir Henry Wilson MP after the First World War. And also, I learned something during the week that I hadn't realised, Dermot. I believe you're actually, or Dermot, Ronan, you were actually knighted by the French government in 2018.
Yeah, sorry, it's Sir Ronan to you, yeah.
Sorry, I'm sorry. You actually got the Knight of the Order of the Arts and Letters because of your work in honouring the memory of Irish soldiers who fought in France and Belgium.
Yeah, it was an incredible honour. That was what, 2018. Yeah, I was astonished. I still am, really, by all of that. I get to wear this tiny little badge on my lapel, which you wouldn't notice unless you knew what it was. But that was
it's a great achievement. Great achievement.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate
that. And having been on one of Ronan's trips to Flanders for the Somme and the First World War, I can really understand how you got that, because your knowledge of the First World War is unsurpassed as far as I can see. So well done.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Anyway, back
just on that subject, I was at the Island Bridge commemoration, the annual commemoration, where it's 110 years on from the Battle of the Somme, and the mayors of Dublin and Belfast laid wreaths. Emma Pengali, little Pengali, came down. She laid a wreath. Robert Troy laid a wreath on behalf of the government. And as I've said on many different occasions, we have our differences historically speaking, but the First World War is a part of our joint experience as an island. The German bullets didn't distinguish between Protestant and Catholic.
No, well, I think a visit to the Ulster Memorial is enough to highlight what you said there. It really was. It's sort of one of these things you never forget once you've been to that place. But anyway, back in the present day, I suppose we have to start. And I hate waking up in the morning and every first news bulletin is dominated by Donald Trump.
Yeah,
it's as if he's on a competition with himself to see how many mentions he can get during the day on the various media outlets. But the Iran thing, I mean, is it war? Is it peace? Is it stalemate? Are things going to escalate? Is he going to drop a nuclear bomb on them? What do you think, Ronan? What is going on there?
I just think it's nonsense what's going on. I mean, I think there was 3 attacks on vessels, oil tankers during the week, which were blamed on the Iranian government, and Trump decided that they were scum, as he put it, and broke off. So the ceasefire, the 60-day sort of pause, was at an end, and that everything was, had returned to what it was, which was a war. But actually, it turns out that those attacks by tankers were probably done by rogue elements within the Iranian sort of military who don't want to compromise in relation to this. So, and yet Trump is still there saber rattling away, talking about going back to this thing about annihilating Iran. Nobody believes him. And I just don't know what the hell he's at. This is the problem when you have somebody as erratic as this, as the president of the United States. Nobody wants to go back to this war in any circumstances whatsoever. We're just getting back on our feet. The world economy was getting back on its feet. People were trying to return to normal, particularly in the United States, where this war is deeply, deeply unpopular, and he blows up again. So I mean, all I can say to you is that the talks are still ongoing. I think the Qataris are trying to mediate between the Iranians and the Americans, but it's just not good. This constant attention seeking, this constant lack of consistency, this unpredictability is just becoming really wearying for the world at the moment. And apparently Trump's calculus, he doesn't actually care what happens in the November midterm elections. He's not going to be re-elected, so he's given up that thought. So he's just going to do what he has to do, and the rest of us have to suffer the consequences.
He seems to be, like, I would have thought possibly some of the European leaders or the NATO leaders that met up during the week there might have had the sort of gumption to say something to him and try and talk him around a wee bit. But it just seems to me now, he went to NATO saying what a great job he was doing and how everybody loved him.
Yeah.
And they were kind of sniggering behind his back. You know, he seems to become kind of like the fool that we have to suffer gladly. And especially this thing about Spain going to stop trading with Spain. Does he not realize you cannot stop trading with an EU country without stop trading with the whole lot of them?
Yeah.
So his lack of knowledge about basic things that presidents should know about is staggering. And it seems to me, I always think, every time I think of Donald Trump, I think of that children's book, The Emperor's New Clothes.
Yeah, yeah.
It just appears nobody is telling him what's actually going on in the real world. And he thinks that he's absolutely the most popular thing since sliced bread, for one of a better thing.
He's completely delusional, and obviously he has people within his own cabinet who will tell him what he wants to hear. Look, this is a story as old as time. You get a despotic figure, and nobody has the guts to tell him the truth of what's going on, and he lives in this fantasy land. You saw it in the movie Downfall, that brilliant film in particular, that from which parodied Hitler Reacts scene.
Oh, yeah.
Basically, you know, he's if you have a top-down leadership, and if the leader himself is not getting the right information, then the whole thing is in a state of stasis. And this is happening in Russia as well, where apparently the commanders are afraid to tell Putin the truth about what's happening in the war that he's losing now, and that the devastation that's been caused to the Russian supplies is absolutely extraordinary. But who's going to tell him that? Who's going to tell him that? And you know, people suffer as a result of the fact that far too many leaders there is no body to tell them the truth about what's happening. So I don't know what's the story here with this Iran war thing. Nobody, and I say nobody, wants to go back to this. Yeah. You know, so
and I think what he did during the week as well, he also invented a new country for us.
Yeah,
the Islamic Republic of Japan, which was, I'm sure the Japanese people were quite surprised to hear that. But I think that just shows you how clued out he is.
He's 80 years of age. You know, he's 80 years of age. He's not a particularly healthy man. He shouldn't be president, irrespective of you know, he should be. There's a reason why people retire at 65, you know, and he's 80 years of age with the biggest job in the world. And I just think that this is just it's just farcical. But what's happening now in the world, and I was at a conference during the week on global security, is that speech that Mark Carney gave at Davos, stating that, you know, we have to realize that there's a new world order, you know, and we have to realize that we cannot keep dependent on the United States for everything, that we have to do things ourselves. I think that's coming to fruition in a lot of ways. European powers are spending more money on defense. They're leveraging themselves away from the United States slowly, because obviously the United States is the only indispensable country in the world. It's still the most powerful country in the world, but I think I don't think America's reputation will come back from this for decades, in my view. I think particularly European leaders will say, well, okay, right, well, we might get another Biden in, but what's to say we won't get Vance the next time, and so on. So there's been a real rupture now, you know.
But Ronan, one thing that really annoys me, and I think it annoys an awful lot, as a journalist, this probably annoys you as well, the American press seem to give Trump a free pass. Now, if some of the things that he's done, if Joe Biden had done them, they'd be screaming from the front pages every morning of the week. But Trump can do exactly the same, and probably worse, and it's not even mentioned. Like, to give an example, the head of NATO, when he went on about Greenland the other day, Trump was going to go back into Greenland, that was a great time to pull him back and say, no, sorry, Mr. Trump, Greenland belongs to Denmark. But they just let him carry on. And the more they do that, the more he thinks he's right, and we'll keep doing it. And also,
well, I think,
go on, sorry.
You carry on, yeah?
No, I was going to say, on a similar thing, the fact that this aircraft change that he did in coming home from Istanbul, that the New York Times journalists have now been served with subpoenas to reveal their sources. That is an attack on the First Amendment that surely would not happen in any other country.
Well, I mean, I would push back there a little, Philip. I think the American mainstream media is doing its best to expose Trump, but the problem is, it's not really having a huge impact. I mean, it is having an impact in the sense that his approval numbers are cratering all the time, and the news of his, every day brings fresh revelations of the fact that he and his family have turned the U.S. presidency into a gold mine for themselves, and they're pretty shameless about it. This shameless desire to make money from the presidency. And I mean, look, let's just wait till November, and then we will have some verdict on this, because obviously Trump's not going to be standing for a third term. No matter what he says, he's not going to be standing for a third term. But the American public, let's just see how they react to all of this in November, because there's no doubt that their country's integrity, democracy, everything has been hollowed out in front of their eyes. And if they can't see that, more fool them.
Yeah, I think it's going to take a mixture of George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, and Barack Obama and others to bring back the American reputation once Trump is but a distant memory. So
well, I don't know if it's going to happen in our lifetime. I'll be honest with you, Philip. This is a stain that's not going to go away too easily,
And moving on to the UK and to a close associate of Mr. Trump, Nigel Farage. During the week, tried to pull what he thought was a clever stunt, which I think has backfired on him spectacularly, in so much that none of the major parties are going to run against him in the by-election.
He thought he was being clever, but actually the clever ruse was on the part of all the mainstream parties to duck out of this election. So Farage wanted to stand in Clacton-on-Sea and say, oh, all this stuff about this £5 million that I got, nobody cares about it except the Westminster government, except the establishment, as he likes to put it. Nobody cares about me getting all that money. And he would have seen the referendum, or he would have seen the Clacton-on-Sea by-election. He wanted this to be a referendum, knowing that he probably would win against the mainstream parties. But the thing about it is now that they have decided to call his bluff and have said, no, we're not going to stand in this election, now he's up against Count Binface, who will attract all of the anti Farage vote in that constituency. Now, he did get nearly 50% the last time, but that means there's 55% didn't vote for him. This is a very dangerous strategy on his part. I mean, he probably will win, but either voters will not come out to vote because they regard this election as a farce, or those who really, really hate Farage's guts will come out and defense him. I don't know what the answer is. I saw some poll there where Count Binface is winning by 12%, but in any case, Farage wanted this to be a kind of a referendum on his greed, basically. And he's not getting it. He's been deprived of that platform, so it's going to be an interesting by-election. There's talk about having it in August, so we'll see how it goes.
It's can you imagine the embarrassment if Count Binface actually defeated him? I know it's highly unlikely, but even if he gets a large protest vote, it's going to dilute Farage's power going forward.
It'll be a Pyrrhic victory for him, no matter what happens. He'll either be an embarrassing defeat or a Pyrrhic victory, but he'll be deprived of the the platform he wanted. So he wanted to go out among the people of Clacton and say, nobody cares about this. Nobody cares if a politician makes money on the side, all the rest of that type of stuff. Now, I would suggest that there is a coterie of people in the UK who actually don't care, who are so fed up of the establishment in the UK, for want of a better word, or for the establishment parties, that they'll vote for reform no matter what happens. That it's the equivalent of, Trump saying that you could go down Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and people would still vote for him. I'm not sure that that's the case, to be honest with you. Reform are getting hammered left, right, and centre because, for totally legitimate reasons, not just this, but also the money that was given to the party by George Cottrell, Posh George, as he's known, before the 2024 British general election as well, which is also the subject of an investigation. So what I find really most gallant about the whole thing is that all of these frauds in reform, like Farage, Richard Tice, multimillionaire, what do you call the guy, the chairman, Yahya Yousaf is his name, who sells yachts and expensive wines to people for a living. All of these people claiming that they're anti-establishment and that the establishment is out to get them. It's just utterly crazy.
Yeah, I think though there was a bit of a sobering message yesterday when the word came through of Anne Widdecombe being murdered. Anne Widdecombe went from being a Conservative minister down to joining the Brexit Party. And met her end in horrific circumstances over the last few days, which is very, very sad.
It is. I mean, she wouldn't be the first woman to be the victim of male violence. But I mean, the question here is whether this was a politically motivated killing or whether it was simply an opportunistic killing by somebody who may have decided to rob her or to assault her. In any case, it's really, really sad. Anne Widdecombe was quite a formidable politician in Britain for many, many years. I mean, you and I and most people in Ireland wouldn't agree with her stance on Brexit, but it's a shocking end to a woman who was, nobody deserves to die like that. It's just an awful, awful thing to happen.
I think there's been some horrendous messages posted online about her demise, and a lot of them now you couldn't even repeat them. They're so disgusting, and celebrating the fact that the lady is dead, which I think is horrible regardless what your politics are, but there is some terrible stuff out there. And how divisive politics has become in the UK,
Yeah, well, there's the old saying, don't speak ill of the dead. That goes back to Roman times. I mean, there's a time and a place for assessing people's legacy, but this is not the time for it. And comments by the likes of Alan Bolton and Peter Tatchell and stuff like that was just so tactless and insensitive and inappropriate in the time frame. If you haven't got something good to say about somebody who's died, say nothing. Because there will come a time, particularly if they're a politician or whatever, where there will be a more honest assessment of their lives. But it's not, especially when somebody's murdered, you just don't go down that road.
Yeah. And of course, there was a sad death as well. His name escapes me at the minute. The Sky News anchor that died of prostate cancer there last night.
Dermot Moynihan, yeah.
I mean, he was good. I liked him. He was a really good, great man.
Yeah.
Really good. Yeah.
Great guy.
So may he rest in peace. And I'm a bit out of touch with the Prime Minister situation. When is Andy Burnham taking over, or when's the D-Day?
I think it's the 20th of July, which is Monday week, and that's the day after the World Cup final. So there you go. And
which brings us nicely onto the next subject. Are we going to have
imagine his first role as British Prime Minister is to welcome home the England team that just won the World Cup.
I know. Well, tonight will tell us whether that's going to happen or not, And Argentina stand in the way if they get that far. So it's going to be a very interesting week, another week and a day, and that's it. But
here's my prediction, right? And
go on.
You may be laughing at me. I think it's going to be an England-France final. I think
I
France will win.
wouldn't disagree with you. I wouldn't
Yeah.
disagree with you. I think Argentina, good and all as Messi is, they can't rely on him. England will have a plan to keep him quiet and keep Messi quiet, and you've got a lot of that team in your pocket, you know. But France, I think, France are going to be very difficult to beat.
Oh yeah, I can't see anybody. I think this is. I don't remember a World Cup, and I might be wrong about this, in which one team was so obviously better than all the rest. I mean, it might have been 2002 was the last one, but to me, they're just on another planet. And I actually think the real World Cup final is going to be France and Spain. You know, Spain have been outstanding as well. You know, they both play brilliant possession football. They're both outstanding teams. My unbelief is that France are just too powerful up front. But then Spain have been brilliant at the back as well, notwithstanding the fact that they conceded against Belgium, but that was really against the run of play. It'll be a great World Cup semi-final between those two teams. I mean, I think whoever wins that will win the tournament.
Yeah. It would be, it'd be England to get to the final and get beaten again. You know, it would be very tough on them, very tough. And I think that the knives will be out for Thomas Tuchel if they don't win this competition.
Well, you know, I mean, like. Yeah, but I think getting, yeah, I agree with you. But I think getting to, if they get to the World Cup final, it's a big if, obviously. I think that would be a great achievement, to be honest with you. And you know, they were brilliant against Mexico. I mean, they were so focused. They had their game plan right. They showed absolute great grit and bottle after going a man down, and they had match winners. You know, and that's the thing. I think they're going to beat Argentina. I mean, if you think about the fact that Argentina struggled against Cape Verde and also against Egypt, I mean, you know, they haven't beaten anyone yet. They haven't really played anybody who's really put it up, who's of the front rank. Now, I think they will beat Switzerland, although I think it'll be it won't be a cakewalk by any means. But I do think England will be too strong for them in the semi-final, and then, you know, it's the 100 Years' War revisited.
Yeah, it is. But just on the subject of England getting a red card, I mean, there's one thing I can't quite understand, that is how the English player was given a 2-match ban when I think everyone else has been sent off. We just got a 1-match ban. They cited the dangerousness of the tackle. It didn't appear to be a complete. In fact, I'd say it was a borderline red. Never mind a red card. But now he's been hit with a 2-match ban, and that's kind of knocked him out of the reckoning until the final, if they get to it, you know.
Well, I thought he was unlucky with that, but like, I mean, to me, it was just a straight red. It was a dangerous tackle. I thought it was a pretty dangerous tackle, and two games is harsh, conscious, but like it was an awful tackle though. Let's face it, right? And I don't know whether he meant it or not, or whether his timing was bad. But
his timing was bad.
He could have broken the Mexican player's leg. You know.
So, but you look at last night in the match between Spain and Belgium. There was a blatant handball by a Spanish guy in the penalty area. It wasn't even looked at by VAR. You know, so I just get a little bit concerned. I mean, that brings us on to the case of Donald Trump and the red card. I mean, what in God's name was he thinking? You know, what was Infantino thinking by even taking the phone call? Because, I mean, it's in FIFA's regulations that political interference is a no-go. And if this wasn't political interference, then I don't know what is.
It was, well, look, I mean, some of us might have liked to have seen, for the sake of the tournament, the Americans going a bit further, beating Belgium. But when that happened, everybody just said, you know, let's support Belgium. I mean, he shouldn't have taken that call. It should not have been overturned. It's as simple as that. And it was such a blatant act of interference on the part of Infantino, so blatantly, obviously wrong, right? Yeah. But I suspect the fact that Belgium trashed the United States anyway means that it'll be forgotten about in the heel of the hunt, and that'll be for the best for Infantino, because there's a lot of people, you and I and most people in Europe would like to see the back of this guy for the corruption, the decisions that he's made. But the reality is, if you look at this World Cup in the round, it's been it's been a success, I think. I mean, all this talk, despite the fact that the prices of tickets was absolutely outrageous, the stadiums have all been full. The 48 team format has really, really worked, and I think they are on course to make a record amount of money. And this is where Infantino and Sepp Blatter before him were able to see all these. Protests against the regime off of the past, because once you have money, you have power and you have influence. And we in Europe might want to see the back of him, but we're only one continent, albeit the most powerful one. He's still going to get support from Africa when he starts spreading the largesse from this World Cup around the place, South America as well, and Asia. So yeah, I'm afraid I just don't see him being held accountable for some of the appalling decisions that he's made.
Yeah, I think Donald Trump going to the final is going to be interesting if there's an English-speaking team in that final, because some of the chants that are going to come out during that match are going to be very interesting.
I don't know whether he will go.
He's talking of going, but whether he does or not, I don't know. I think it'd be foolish to go. If he goes, it's going to mean it'll take 5 hours to get into the ground at the start. There's going to be such security, and it's going to mess the whole thing up. What should be a celebration of sport becomes the Donald Trump show.
But it could be even worse than that. Do you remember the World Club Championship final when he actually
he wouldn't get off the stage,
and all the Chelsea players like Cole Palmer going, what's he doing here?
He might take the trophy home and say Infantino said I could have this.
Yeah.
He
will, without a shadow of a doubt, he will insert himself in the middle of those teams. He does not care about protocol or anything like that. He just won't.
No, he doesn't know.
But he will have to be, because if you think the last 2 World Cups, Putin presented the World Cup in 2018, then here at Qatar in 2022. So he'll have to be there, and of course that'll be, as you say, that's going to be a massive issue, security issue for everybody, and then he's going to get his arse booed for himself as well. So,
well, he got it done at the New York Knicks. Do you remember during the basketball? He went to the one match that they lost. And so everything Trump touches dies, apparently. But just generally on the World Cup, one thing that struck me a bit strange, actually, has been some of the refereeing appointments.
Yeah,
they've been giving a referee from Nicaragua. I don't know. I forget which game it was. We'll say it was Argentina versus England or something like that.
Yeah,
and the likes of the referees from the Spain, France, Germany, the major leagues aren't given these matches. And then the other night there, they gave the French game against Morocco. Every one of the officials was from Argentina, which struck me as a little bit. Could have gone wrong.
The referee was from Argentina.
A whole lot of them were the five officials. But
you see, I'd say that's down simply to politics. I mean, every continent, it is the World Cup, but it says so, So obviously, if you have France versus Morocco, you're probably going to want to have a referee from a different continent doing that one. So, you go to South America and so on.
El Salvador refereed Mexico. I thought that was a little bit close to home.
Yeah, that's a bizarre one as well. Yeah. But anyway, I don't know. What do you think of the standards of refereeing in the tournament?
Well, I'll tell you one thing I like. They've been letting a lot go. A lot niggly fouls that will be pulled up in the Premiership. But what is doing my head in is the amount of players falling to the ground, holding their faces when they weren't touched in the face, and wasting time. And the what do you call it? The 4 water breaks. It's really a game of 4 quarters now, because the water break can absolutely change the tack of a match once the tactics are changed. So from that point of view, I don't agree with the water breaks. And somebody else put up a thing. Could Donald Trump please ring up what do you call him, chairman of the GEA, and get the water breaks and so into the All Ireland final. Stuff like that. But no, it's been a good World Cup. It's actually been better than I thought. I really came into it with very low expectations.
Yeah,
because of everything that we're hearing. But it's been good. It's gone very quickly. I mean, once the group stage is over, it's gone like a bullet.
Yeah, but I think it's been great. I think it has exceeded everybody's expectations. The football's been excellent, and I think, as I predicted, I think the best teams will be in a semi-final: England, Argentina, France, and Spain. And I think I just think this France team is one of the great international teams. The way they're playing, they're just outstanding. You know,
But
just
I think the team I think that most people would remember from this World Cup is Cape Verde.
Yeah.
You know, for what they've come out of nowhere and done what they did. I mean, taking Argentina, you know, to literally the nth degree was brilliant. And Pico will profit nicely from that once he's back.
Well, I hope he does. But you know what? Like, if you look at it, this tournament has been a missed opportunity for African teams. I mean, they just don't seem to have the mentality to close out games. Senegal 2-0 up against Belgium. They lose 3-2. Egypt 2-0 up against Argentina. They lose 3-2. Congo 1-0 up against England. Had a chance to go 2-0 up just before halftime. Again, like, there's no doubt that African teams can now compete with European countries, but you know, they just don't seem to have the mentality to close out games, to be ruthless enough. Obviously, there was high hopes for Morocco this time round, but obviously they made an outstanding France team. I mean, France just didn't let them play, you know. So, but unfortunately, Pele once said, did he not, back, that he thought that there would be an African World Cup winning team by 2000, but it could be 3000 the way we're going at the moment. You know?
The next World Cup is in Morocco, isn't it?
Yeah, and Spain, and that'll be
interesting because I mean that will give the African teams, you know, a bit more hope, and they're playing a lot on the home territory, so that will be interesting. Well, anyway, so you're going for France. I think I won't disagree with you. I think France will be the winners in the end. I think, yeah, you rightly say it could be a France-England final, and it'll probably go to extra time. And you probably get Mbappe will score the winner in the 119th minute or something like that. You know,
I can't see England. I can't see England beating France in normal time or extra time. I would say that their best opportunity would be to win on penalties. But, you know, I think the only team that can beat France at this stage is France themselves. If they don't turn up, right? If they turn up, they'll beat everybody. Right? There's no question about it. But it'll be a great game against Spain. I'm really looking forward to that game because Spain are outstanding as well. They're not as potent in attack, but they've had a much more difficult run in. I mean, they've had to play Portugal and Belgium, and they grinded out results there. But France will be a different story, you know.
I think that's at 8:00 on Tuesday night, if I'm not mistaken.
I
think it's 3 p.m. American time, so it's probably 8:00. That's provided it's East Coast, so that'll be very interesting. And we're just going to finish off with just a few little Irish matters that cropped up during the week. And I suppose the one that's on most people's minds at the moment is that savage murder down in Kerry, where I presume it was the ex-boyfriend of the deceased has now done a runner and ended up back in Jordan, but there's no extradition treaty.
Yeah, so I was down there. I was actually down in Killarney, coincidentally, during the week, and I mean, all of these murders are shocking, right? But what thankfully has not occurred. I mean, let's call a spade here, right? This poor woman, what's her name? Carney. I'm trying to think of her first name. Jamie Carney. Yeah. You know, she came over from new life for herself and her daughter in 2021, and she met this young asylum seeker who's living in Killarney, and he suffocated her to death. You know, he choked her to death, and he fled the country before he could before anybody had discovered that he had murdered her. He's now on the run in Jordan, and the mainstream press, including ourselves, are getting it in the neck because we don't name him. Now, you can find out who he is on social media. It's not a problem.
I've seen his name.
I've seen his name as well. I've seen his name everywhere, but we're not naming him because apparently, if somebody's in the asylum system, you can't name them if they committed a crime. Now, that is pretty outrageous, you know. So I don't know what's going to happen to this guy. I have no idea. But one thing I will say is there's been no, thank God, there's been no trouble in relation to this the way there was, you know, after the attacks in Parnell Square and the attacks in Belfast, and also elsewhere as well. The riots outside City West, but it's not good. It's not a good look, and I hope to God he's caught. But it isn't good if and you know what? You can only extradite somebody that you have an actual charge against. You can't extradite somebody
on the strength of
that is
a charge coming up. Yeah, right.
Okay. So that you just want
to he had a 12-hour start. He had a 12-hour start before. I think the body wasn't found till lunchtime, and he was on the bus at 3 a.m. from Killarney. And it's very, very sad. And also, we've got not a similar case, but the guy, the Dublin guy who can't be named in Hungary, given a 12-year sentence for rape, for murder, and he can't be named either under Hungarian law. So it's strange, very strange. And politically wise around Dublin, Dermot or Ronan, what's happening? Is there anything important that you think might be coming down the track over the next few days?
No, I don't think so. I'm just trying to think. No, things are very quiet. We do seem to we seem to have a very boring political system or political life in this country, which is actually I would say a very good thing when you look at what's happening elsewhere. I don't think there's much happening at the moment. I'm racking my brains as to what life issues there are. I don't think there are any, which is. But it is nearly the silly season, so let's hope it continues that way.
Well, I was listening to the radio this morning, and Iska Éireann were coming on about the areas in which there was a water shortage, and I was gobsmacked to hear South Leitrim was included in that. We normally have enough water here to fill the Atlantic Ocean, but now they're saying we've got a water shortage here, so must be drinking too much. We're going
to continue for another week, I'd say, at least. I mean, they're talking about at least next Saturday, and it's absolutely boiling up here today in Dublin. So we'll just have to see how it goes. This is certainly this is starting to rival 76 and 95, which were the other great Irish summers in terms of weather, and we're not even in August yet, and we've already had 2 heat waves, and we have one in May as well. So there's I'm not trivializing climate change, but let's just enjoy this good weather while it lasts.
You were away in Spain there recently. Was it very hot down there?
No, it wasn't actually. When I arrived in Santander, it was about 16 degrees. So they had just got rid of their heat wave, and they were so glad. It was just paralyzing everybody. It was like 35 degrees every day, and nobody could do anything. And so it was much more manageable when I went there.
Okay, right, okay. And just to finish off, I think we have to congratulate 2 of the GA teams that won through today. Now, for me, I know Mayo have won very handsomely through to the All-Ireland final by beating Louth by double scores. But I think the team of the day has to be Wicklow.
Absolutely. How many points were they? 11 points down at half?
12. They were 12 points down at half time. They were barely got a kick in the first half, and they came out like demons in the second half, and they won by 2 points. Louth only scored 6 points in the second half. It was incredible. I've never seen a game like it. Amazing.
Yeah.
So well done, Wicklow.
And the first team from Division 4 to win the Tailteann Cup as well. So, there's hope for Leitrim yet, yeah?
Well, yeah, hopefully.
What's going on here? We'll ever win.
We can but hope. But anyway, listen, we're going to.
Here's hoping Mayo win the All Ireland at last.
That's it. Mayo have to win it now. Yeah. We're going to finish off there. But next week we're going to be doing a solely show based solely on Irish politics and the Irish political scene and things happening in Ireland. Because there's a lot that will be happening over the next few weeks. So that we'll be doing that with Dermot and Ronan in a week's time or so. But again, Ronan, a pleasure as always to have you on. Thanks for coming on and giving me your time.
Philip. Always a pleasure, yeah.
And we will talk to you soon.
Enjoy the rest of the sunshine, all right?
Indeed.
See you guys.